From Studio DRC at the Daytona Regional Chamber of Commerce, this is the Crest of the Wave. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the August 2024 edition of Crest of the Wave, episode number 4 in our podcast journey here at the Daytona Regional Chamber of Commerce. My name is Ken Phelps. I'm the Vice President of Resource Development here at the Daytona Regional Chamber, and this podcast is designed to be a podcast for the Daytona Beach region's business community. And as we talk to our member businesses and other businesses in the community, almost without fail, the number one topic for these businesses today is workforce and workforce development and making sure they have a supply of talented workers. So today we are pleased to be joined by Marci Murphy, who is the new Executive Director of the CareerSource Brevard Flagler Volusia. If that sounds a little bit different, it is. And we're going to talk about that in today's episode. So Marci, thank you so much for being here today and helping shed a little light on this big change that's happened for CareerSource.
Well, thank you, Ken, for having me. I really appreciate that.
So let's start. Well, introduce yourself to the folks a little bit. Obviously, You're going to be very familiar with anybody that's in Brevard and listening or watching, but in Flagler and Volusia, maybe a new name for them. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got into the workforce development world, and kind of a little bit about your personal interests as well.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Illinois and moved to Florida in 1985, so I consider myself a Floridian. Worked out at the Space Center for 11 years and then went to work for a small software company and then ended up in workforce about 22 years ago. I started out as a youth coordinator, and then they had me do contracts and then data analysis. And then for 11 years, I was the vice president. And then in 2016, I became the president of CareerSource Brevard. And so I'm married, happily married. With my first husband, I had a daughter, and she lives in Tallahassee with her husband. And I have 3 granddaughters. So okay. They have 3 kids. And so that's a little bit about myself.
Oh, very good. Now, CareerSource Brevard and CareerSource Flagler Volusia ceased to exist on June 30, and July 1 launched this new local workforce development board, CareerSource Brevard Flagler Volusia. Tell us a little bit about, some folks may be familiar with what the REACH Act, or they may have heard about it, but not have a whole lot of background. So guide us through a little bit of that legislation, how it progressed, and what was the impact, particularly on the Workforce Development Board side.
Yes. So it's been a little bit of a journey, and 2021 was when the REACH Act came around, and that stands for Reimagining Education and Career Help Act. And in 2022, July of 2022, the state contracted with Ernst & Young to go out the state of Florida and talk to stakeholders about transforming the workforce in Florida. And so that took several months. And then in February of 2023, the CareerSource Florida Board of Directors voted in what they called the Transformation Plan. And then in May of 2023, the governor said, yes, we want to do this. And so we started down this journey. And it has 3 pillars, this transformation plan. The first pillar is the alignment and consolidation of workforce boards. So we had 24 workforce boards, and they narrowed it down to 21. We were one of the ones that was consolidated. Alachua, Gainesville area with 5 rural counties, and then Hillsborough and Pinellas, they were each separate workforce boards, and so they were consolidated. And then there were others around the state that were realigned. So either they lost a county or they gained a county. So there was 10 total that were affected by that. And so in October of 2023, the state said, Marci, we want you to run the fiscal side of CareerSource Flagler and Volusia. There was some financial things going on. At the time, we didn't have the capacity, and there was a lot of legal hoops. So January of 2024 was when we took over as the fiscal agent, but everything operationally was still run by Flagler and Volusia. And then in July 1st of 2024, 46 days ago, when we recorded this, was when we actually consolidated officially.
Talk about a little bit about a process that large, just from the management standpoint. When you're looking at bringing that together, what was that like? Had you experienced anything like that professionally?
No, I hadn't, and neither had the state. And so it was really new territory for everyone. So a lot of times we took 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. And but we got through it, and we're on the other side of that. So that was the first pillar. The second pillar is system-wide improvements, and that's done at the state level. For instance, each workforce board had an OJT contract. Well, let's standardize the OJT contract at the state level. A lot of us had applications from labor market companies that we were paying separately. So let's see if we can bring that up to the state level. So those kinds of things are working right now. And then the third pillar is regionalism. And regionalism is about working with another workforce region for efficiencies and looking at growing strategically and economic, regionalize that. So that's the third pillar. And we're going to be starting that soon also.
Yeah, I think that's something that, our organization, we're the Daytona Regional Chamber, we advocate all the time. When you're talking about the economy, a dollar that's spent somewhere doesn't care if it crosses a municipal line from one city to the next, or one county to the next, or one region to the next. That really makes it much more efficient. We've had some meetings this morning as well and talked a little bit about that alignment and what that regionalism means. So let me open the floor for you a little bit to kind of paint that picture for our listeners, viewers, business leaders in the community. What is the new what does that new regionalism look like going forward,
Right.
and how do we improve not only Flagler and Volusia and Brevard, but this whole 3-county region
Right.
to really accelerate business moving forward?
Right. I think it's important that educational systems, industries, chambers, cross over counties, and it's not just that county, and look at ways to leverage their resources so that we can grow, statewide and regional wide.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important that eventually we get to the point where we have businesses that are collaborating together across county lines.
I think that's something we try to really emphasize with our members. And we've got some great testimonials over the years of businesses who thought maybe they were competitors. And what they realize is there's so much business to be had in the community that sometimes they're booked. But the ability to serve a client, even if it's just referring to a fellow industry sector, there's so much benefit to that. Because that client feels like even though you may not have done that job for them, you still serve their needs. And so you don't really risk losing them, so to
Right.
speak.
And also when you look at training, a lot of businesses do in-house training. And wouldn't it be great if the industries could collaborate and use resources in the training of their staff?
So let's talk a little bit about those opportunities to leverage the best aspects of each of the counties that's coming together in this new region. What do you see? So you mentioned 46 days in, you're learning a lot, getting to meet a lot of new people. What do you see? What have you heard from folks as you're talking to them of the best assets or the best attributes of Volusia County, of Flagler County, and helping to leverage those? What are you hearing from people?
So my focus over the last 46 days has really been looking at how do we leverage and how do we work together in the workforce arena. So I would like to share some things that we're going to be bringing to Flagler Volusia, some things that Flagler and Volusia have, great best practices that we'd like to explore. So one of the things is our labor market tool. We have a labor market tool with Lightcast, which allows businesses to look at, okay, what's the county look like? What's my industry look like? Who are my competitors? Where are folks going? A job, what should you charge for a wage? We have all that information. We're paying for that labor market tool, and I really like to see businesses in all the areas utilize us for that kind of information because we have it, and we have a great tool for that. Another thing we have is an online learning platform, which we have already expanded into Flagler and Volusia with over 6,000 free training courses. You can get them online. A lot of our job seekers utilize it, but businesses can too. And it's free to everyone. And it's an amazing tool. So that's something else that we can offer to not only job seekers, but businesses. We have a virtual job fair platform, which we utilize now for, we call them Super Tuesdays, which is every quarter we have like a virtual job fair on a Tuesday. I see this tool being utilized more now that we have grown and we're 3 counties because really, Ken, of the 67 counties, Volusia is the 10th largest in landmass, and Brevard is the 15th largest. So when you look at the landmass and then the length of the three together, it's quite a long, group of counties. And so we think the virtual job fair platform will be able to be utilized more on that. And then I'm really excited about a partnership that we have with a company called Dwyer Workforce out of Maryland. They expanded into Texas, and the state came to me and says, we'd like to have it expanded here in Florida. So we started in Brevard, and their main goal is to train certified nursing assistants and get them they really are focused on the skilled nursing facilities because they need them the most, but any healthcare organization can use them. But they call them Dwyer Scholars, and they mentor them for a whole year. And then at the end of the year, if they want to go on to become an LPN or phlebotomist or get their med tech certification, they pay for that. They're a really amazing partner that actually brings 50%. I mean, it's a 50-50 collaboration, and it's such a great partnership over the last year that we are presenting to the board at CareerSource Florida next week on this partnership, and they are extremely excited to come into Volusia and Flagler counties to be able to start this talent pipeline in healthcare.
Yeah, that's such an important piece, and it really, all of the work that CareerSource does is about getting people aligned with not only their skill sets, but in high wage, in demand careers.
Absolutely.
Not just that next dead end job that goes until it doesn't, and then you find another one in that kind of repetitive cycle that makes it hard to provide for families and all of those kinds of things. So to get folks into positions where they have careers they can build on and skills that grow together and support their personal growth. That's such an important piece of that.
Right.
I want to ask you, I want to back up for just a second on and touch on a little bit on Lightcast. I'm familiar with it a little bit from the work we've done in the past with CareerSource. I'm fortunate to have been voted onto the new CareerSource Brevard Flagler Volusia board. So leading that, so I'm a little bit familiar with it. But I'm thinking maybe there's some viewers or listeners who they may have heard the name Lightcast, but are not real familiar with it. Can you just share a little bit of easily of like how a business might reach out to say, hey, I'd like to get some of that intelligence. We try to encourage people to make decisions based on data, not your feeling, because you may not have an accurate picture. If somebody wants to say, learn more about their industry sector or their community and get some of that data, how do they go about doing that in terms of reaching out to CareerSource?
Yes, so we have a not huge, but we have a large business liaison team we have a vice president of industry relations, Thomas LaFleur. We have supervisors and business liaisons, and all of them are knowledgeable and trained in using this product. And so reaching out to them, or they can reach out to you. But if you need those services, contact us, and we will make sure that we help you with that. Lightcast is one of the leading data analytics firms in the United States. And I use them extensively because not only do they have an application that you can go out and look at that, they also have podcasts, and they do all kinds of training. Like they did one recently in AI and how is it affecting workforce. And so they do a lot of things like that, and I get a lot of my information from there. But we can print out some amazing reports for businesses depending on what their focus is and what they'd like to learn. And it doesn't hurt to reach out to us and see if we can help you in that arena, because we have that product and it's for you, it's for the business.
Yeah. And I think it's so important for people to make data-based decisions. Gut instincts are good and it serves people well in a lot of situations, but sometimes that future trend, you don't see that in a gut instinct, but you can see that if you're able to look at data. So I think that's really valuable. So tell the folks that are Flagler Volusia oriented a little bit about kind of the best of Brevard and what there's so much. Obviously the aerospace and aviation, the space industry is just booming down there. I think there's huge opportunity for collaboration between the three counties now to help support that. What do you see as Brevard being kind of, what are the assets you want to bring up that will really help improve our business community?
Well, I'd like to talk about the Alliance 4 that you guys have here. It's great, and I'd like to expand on that. So the Alliance 4 is where you bring together education, workforce, economic development, and industry. And what I'd like to see is an event like that, which you have had here that's been very popular. And then you break out into roundtables by industry and look at what are the workforce issues in your industry. And then we take that information and we look at what we can do to move the needle. with workforce issues. In Brevard, we do the same. We've done the same thing in the past. We call them sector consortiums, but we do it by industry, which, we have an IT, aerospace, aviation, healthcare, but the same players are at the table except for the industry piece. So this is why Alliance 4 is a great business model. And I'd like to have, Alliance 4 meeting in the North End and Alliance 4 meeting at the South End and look at how we can move the needle in workforce issues. So that's one of the things that that I'm really looking forward to doing in the future to help our businesses grow and deal with workforce. When you look at labor market data, you look at the industries in the 3 counties and what do we have similar, what do we have different. We all 3 really focus on healthcare. Healthcare is one of the major industries that we all 3 have in common. Construction and hospitality and retail are also some. We look at, there are some jobs in the hospitality and retail that don't pay a living wage or self-sufficient wage. And so we try to focus on the ones that do pay that. And then in Volusia and Brevard, manufacturing is something we have in common. So we look at those key industries and how can we focus and utilize our resources in those industries. But I also like to look at the growing industries in the area. And for instance, Volusia, Brevard, and Flagler have the industry of professional, scientific, and technical that's growing in all 3. And so that's where you get the high-paying jobs, engineering, technicians, aerospace. And so I'm really excited to see that in the labor market data. And then in Volusia and Brevard, transportation and logistics is something that's growing. And so we have a lot in common. We have a lot of industries that we can focus on and work. And then if you look at the top skill that's needed in all 3 regions, it's the same, and it's nursing. So this is why Dwyer Workforce and our partnership with them is going to be so valuable to grow that industry because, it's concerning when you look into the future in healthcare.
Yeah, we've seen that. I have been, engaging in the workforce kind of realm of the chamber for the last 4 to 5 years. The aging workforce. We've got baby boomers. Right. There's a wave of retirements coming. There may or may not be that translation of those skill sets and that knowledge down to the younger workers, and that's across a whole host of industries that are challenges. It's exciting to think about. We do have people that are focused on the future, and how do we maintain that? How do we provide services for our community on an ongoing basis? Aside from that, what are some of the other future trends that you see that maybe the folks that are busy in their business and they're working day to day and they don't have the time to really look up and say, okay, what's coming? What are some things that maybe they just need to be aware of, future trends that you're seeing, whether it's through data or emerging industry sectors or industry sectors that may be kind of reaching toward the end of their life cycle and not as prevalent anymore? What do you see coming down the road? Yeah,
so I haven't done a lot of digging into that over the last 2 or 3 months with the consolidation and everything. And I mentioned AI. That's coming. I'm not quite sure how soon it's coming, but I think it's coming fast. So that's something we need to focus on. The unemployment rate is starting to inch up a little bit. So what that means is it's becoming more of a business focused. I mean, it's not a job seeker environment anymore where they can pick and choose. It's more, businesses will have more product to look at when they hire folks. I don't know how the unemployment rate is going to if it's going to continue to go up, tick up a little bit, or if it's going to stay where it's at. Once it gets over 5%, that's when things start to happen and things change and the economy changes and we have to look at things a little differently. But over the next 6 months, I am going to dive into some other things that are similarities and things in those particular industries that I just mentioned, because we have to, there's so many businesses and thousands of people, citizens to help. So at CareerSource, we kind of have to focus on what's the biggest bang for the buck. And so we will be looking very closely at those industries and those emerging industries in the near future.
Well, there's a lot coming down the pike. You name it. It's new industries that are emerging. AI, I think you touched on that. It's not only going to be its own industry, I think it's going to be pervasive in every industry. We've even started to use it a little bit here at the Chamber of how do we make our team more efficient in terms of we're doing writing for us or analyzing documents or those kinds of things. And I think that's going to be a big piece.
Well, in Lightcast did do a study on AI up, I think, in Maryland. And one takeaway is it doesn't cause you to lose jobs. It actually causes you to gain jobs. And so I'm really interested in learning more about what they've seen up there when they've done their analysis.
I remember a similar thought process when the automated teller machine, ATMs, started to emerge in the banking industry, and tellers were like, oh, we're all going to lose our job. There's going to be machines. But it actually increased the number of tellers you needed because there was only so many transactions that could be done on an ATM and different types, higher levels. You needed a person to be able to handle that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that mirrors that. I've heard that as well. As we're wrapping up our time, you're new into this role. What would be a message you would want to leave our business community with as we're parting at the end of the episode here?
So I just want to say that we have a lot of tools to help you. And one I forgot to mention is we have recruiting events. We did over 60 in Brevard. And this is something that the businesses love. It's kind of a concierge job fair where it's just you at our center. And we market the jobs that you're looking to fill. And folks come to the center and you can interview them. This is a tool I want to bring to Flagler Volusia. It's something that the businesses can utilize and they love it. So we have a lot of things for business. We also have our OJT contracts, our OJT program, which is a great economic development tool. If you don't know anything about what we have to offer, please reach out to us. We have the business services team that can help you. And, I've mentioned a lot of other tools and things, but don't be a stranger. Use us, utilize us, because that's what we're here for. We're here for you all and the business.
And I think that's the most important thing. Something we encourage in the chamber. We talk about convening people and fostering collaboration. It's the same kind of thing. And there's no one person that can be an expert at everything.
Yes.
Our civilized society is built and predicated on division of labor. The workforce space. So the person that's working day to day in the manufacturing, they don't need to know the workforce. They have you as a resource.
Yes.
Well, welcome to this new role. We're excited to have this new region emerging and across this 3-county region. And you're right, it is long. I don't envy the person that would have to drive from North Flagler to Southern Brevard. That's quite a trek. But we're glad to have you here. Thanks for taking some time and being on Crest of the Wave and helping introduce not only yourself but this new region to our business community.
Well, I'm excited to be here working with Volusia and Flagler, amazing counties that I'm learning as I go, and I'm really excited to be here.
Well, and I would extend the same invitation to you. However we can help support your work and supporting our member businesses, the business community at large, reach out. We're here anytime.
Well, thank you, Ken.
All right, very good. Well, that will wrap up episode 4 of Crest of the Wave. Hope that you enjoyed this. If you heard things as Marci and I had this conversation today that are intriguing to you or that you want to learn more about, feel free to reach out directly to CareerSource, or you can contact us here at the Chamber. We're happy to make that connection and make your businesses more effective as you're growing, because workforce is the number one need, has been for a few years, and is going to be for the foreseeable future. So we've got some experts that can definitely help you out. And with that, we'll put a wraps on it and hope you catch the next Crest of the Wave. If you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. For more information on our business community, visit our website at DaytonaChamber.com. Until next time, be ready to catch the next Crest of the Wave.